Today, on Independent Wrestling Profiles, we're talking with the most stylish man in professional wrestling, Take It Easy Joey. As a wrestler,
Yeah.
it makes sense that you would have started as a fan of wrestling.
For sure.
When did that enter your life in the first place?
So the first time I'd say I thought wrestling was kind of like, I don't want to say corny, but like so larger than life, and I didn't understand it, that I didn't really connect with all these like big muscle guys. But then 2008 when I saw Jeff Hardy, like you almost saw like the current landscape of rap, like Lil Uzi, Travis Scott, like he was that for us in that generation. Like you saw this guy paint his face, do his armbands, the whole look, the whole mystique, the way he wrestled, the way he curated his entrance. So I felt like it brought a new perspective of what a wrestler could be. And even then, I didn't even want it to be a wrestler. I was just a fan of the whole product because of that. Yeah, yeah. Like I remember like titas and titos, like me being Filipino, they were asking like, Anak, you want to be a wrestler? I'm like, no, that shit hurts. Oh yeah, it looks terrible. Like like my first favorite wrestler bumped a lot. So it's just like I was more of like a fan and I admire the art, but I feel like that made me more of an artist before even getting into wrestling by watching wrestling.
Okay.
So I was like through my life, I was like directing music videos, I was doing modeling, I was doing all these like creative directing photo shoots, I was doing all this art stuff as my hustle and my job. But that was all because of Jeff Hardy, which is odd that a wrestler sparked that whole pathway. You know what I mean?
It shows that there's alternatives in every industry, right?
Yeah.
If you weren't gripped before you saw Jeff Hardy, what kept you watching up until that point? Like, was it something that you did as a communal thing? Did your family watch? Did you have friends that watched? Like, if you saw
Yeah.
it and you thought it was corny, what kept you going until you saw that Jeff Hardy spark?
And like kind of like what I said, like, like I just didn't understand it. So maybe at first I felt like it was corny because I just didn't understand it. But like that Jeff Hardy spark was like my family supporting it, my friends supporting it. And this is his 2008, 2009 run. So he was like on some like Jay Uso time. Like he was hot. Like I remember every kid in the school had the armbands, like more than any Cena merch, more than any like Batista. Who were the other wrestlers at the time? Triple H. Like those guys were hot at that time too. But like Jeff was on another level, just because he got his first WWE championship at that time. So
I'm not 100%, but I think it was 2008 that he was the top merch mover for WWE.
yeah,
I believe that was the case, and then especially too, like once he moved into like feuds with like CM Punk a little bit
yeah,
after
yeah,
that,
yeah.
it really elevated him. So
You bring up trauma because I literally like I remember crying when that cage match happened and this guy left forever. I like my cousins never understood it, but I was trying to explain to them like it's almost like when Vince Carter left the Raptors. Like he just vanished and he went to the New Jersey Nets. Like, yeah, that's how it felt as a young kid. I'm like, oh my gosh, your superhero that you saw every Friday just left. Yeah.
yeah, you're hurting me, man. You're killing me. I was a Jeff Hardy fan and I was a Vince Carter fan, and you're just like you're opening those wounds for me both at the same
Sorry. It's a safe space. It's a safe space. Yeah, yeah.
as you're moving into other industries, you're doing your hustles, you're doing your art. I'm
Yeah.
assuming wrestling is still part of your life. You're
Yeah, no.
spectating, you're watching. Did you have any kind of like favorite wrestlers or matches kind of as you're progressing that
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of tugged you a little bit further away from fandom, more towards performer?
I I don't even say performer just yet because even just becoming a performer was very recently, like the past 2 years. But in terms of like actually like admiring the whole spectrum of wrestling, I remember watching Shawn Michaels and Undertaker at WrestleMania 25. My titas and titas didn't really get it either. And they're used to watching Manny Pacquiao in his prime. But the way they reacted to all the falsies and the kickouts was Pacquiao loved like everyone that was not a wrestling fan that night became a fan because of Shawn Michaels selling. So it was banana. Oh, it was amazing that night. Lots of match. I remember CM Punk, John Cena, like watching that live too. Like just like cultural moments that, as I'm developing into my manhood, are a part of my growth as a fan too in wrestling.
During this time, as a fan,
Yeah,
did you get an opportunity to go to a live show and experience the difference between watching it on television and
yeah.
feeling the crowd around you and feeling that energy?
Yeah, so that's the cool thing with wrestling, even to this day. Like when my first, I think my first Raw Trish returned with the brown hair, 2009, I think September. Like we saw like families, like parents, young kids, young adults, like kids my age, um, grandmas. So it's like it was so cool that something that lasted this long is still a family oriented product. Even in the PG era where not a lot of people may like that, it's just cool. It brings so many different types of lives together. So that I remember thinking that like it felt like Canada's Wonderland on steroids. Like it felt like it just felt like the whole like everything was hyper stimulated that day for sure.
So take me through a little bit of the trigger event. Like what happened that
Yeah.
changed that mindset of I'm good just being a fan to I want to get in the ring myself. I want to at least take a first step into seeing if this is a world that I want to live in.
Yeah, like again, like I spent so much time just being inspired by wrestling, doing all these like things. Like I remember after COVID, I kind of got a feeling of who I wanted to be outside of doing like video work and stuff. And I'm like, I low key want to be like an action stunt star. Like it was at the back of my mind, and I want to be Take It Easy Joey, because like that's like my family thing. Like my dad would be like, "Anak, take it easy." So like I'm like already formulating how I see myself through my dialogue with my dad. And so I remember with all my savings at the time, I moved to LA on a one way, just like hustling and like modeling there and doing video there, and then eventually I got robbed. So like I
Oh.
remember, yeah. I lost all my equipment, my MacBook, and I felt this too because when I got robbed, it's like they didn't take all my stuff, so it's like they left the Bape shoes. So I'm like, yo, you guys don't like Bape? Like, that's what I heard. I was like, like what are you guys trying to say? So like, yeah, when I got robbed, it was terrible, but yeah, I remember my whole life at that point changed because I was so focused on uh doing those things in LA to try to become a stunt actor. And so I came back to Toronto like, what am I gonna do in my life? Like I have no money. That was like my savings at that time. So I came back, I was fencing, I was trying anything to make this Take It Easy Joey person come to be. And I'm like, I was fencing, like, what am I doing? Like I'm in the fencing community. It's so if it's like Michael Scott type of stuff, it's jokes when I look back. So like, yeah, I had my cousins actually told me, I've been telling you you're a wrestler. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like the way you think, the way you move, the way you inspire other artists to watch wrestling, the way you're trying to brand people like the Shield for whatever reason. Like you're like you think like a wrestler. And then it still hasn't hit me, but it got to the point I was in a low when I got back to Toronto at that time. And then so yeah, I'm like, okay, fine, I'll give it a shot. So they convinced me because I'm like venting. It's like a what do you call it? Intervention because they knew I was going through it. Yeah. Like I was just lost. So this is like what 2022. Yeah, late 2022. So then I'm thinking about it. So 2023, same time, drive all the way to Ballards. Um, peak like climax of just like arguing with my people because they know I'm like projecting. And then now I'm just there and I see like the tallest human beings in the locker room. What's up, yo? And I'm like, what am I getting myself into? This is the worst idea ever. I just want to be a character. I don't want much. Like this is not what I expect. And then yeah, and then after that we were doing like chain wrestling, locking up. And I remember bumping the first time being like, oh my gosh, I made the worst decision of my life. Like this sucks. Like I'm hurt. Like yeah, I'm in deep pain. Like I did not expect this.
So, was it almost right when you got into battle arts
Yeah.
that you started to settle into this idea, or did it take
Not
a
yet.
little bit longer for it to
Not yet.
click that, like,
This started happening.
okay,
Yeah. So like, I'm just crying about it now because it's so like, it's so serious, but it sounds so unserious, which I love. But yeah. So I'm just like, I'm bumping. Oh, this shit sucks. Like this is not for me. Da da da. Um, but at the end, they let us hold the mic, and we had to cut promos. And then for whatever reason, when they gave me the mic, it felt like the most natural thing I could say because I was venting about my reality. And I
okay.
remember the other students were like, Like, who are you? Like, how do you have this whole thing and you ended off your promo with, and I'm take it easy, Joey. And like they're like who, yeah, like what training do you have? Who are you? And I'm like, yo, I'm just venting on what happened on the bus on my way here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I remember my promo was like they asked me to take a photo. Me? You take a photo of me? I forgot what the promo was, but it was something along those lines. And then from that moment, I'm like, I gotta stay. Like, there's no other industry lets you express yourself the way a wrestler can express themselves. So then I'm just like, okay, I'll learn the moves, I'll do what I can. But in terms of just feeling free as a person, yeah, that's what sparked me to be like, I gotta be a wrestler. So I was told prior, like even before I left for LA, like I had people around me like, yo, I'm telling you, you're a wrestler. Like I know you want to do all this modeling, blah blah blah, but like I know you want to design clothes and stuff, but you're a wrestler. And I never thought about it. I'm just a fan. Like I enjoy what it is. And then I guess things find you at the right time.
You naturally had no issue grabbing the microphone and expressing yourself. That's
Yeah,
something that artists have been doing since the beginning of time.
yeah,
When did the in-ring component kind of click with you? Because I know bumping is probably not the best introduction to it, but
yeah,
eventually you have to put the two together. So you got the personality that's
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
How was your journey through the in-ring work?
I think the journey, it was crazy because I was coming up with people that just started similar times around me. So like us like growing collectively, I think it was not like a one moment that made me feel like okay, in ring I got it. Like I think even now to this day, I'm still a student to the game of just like perfecting my craft. But what I would say is my first trip to Knox Pro in Los Angeles, Rikishi school, um, that really opened my eyes of like, oh my gosh, this is what it takes to be a wrestler, and I'm having fun. Like I'm learning so much from like the best. And so I think around like, yeah, 9 months into like maybe my 15th month in, I'm just like, okay, like we're getting something, you know what I mean? But at first it's just like trial and error, try moves, you know.
How'd you end up at Rikishi school?
I sent them my stuff because I was gonna be in the city anyways.
Okay.
And then yeah, they said yeah, pass by. And then I took the leap. Like I didn't really think much of it because I was gonna be at Complex Con. It was around the same time as Complex Con. Yeah, yeah. So I was like there, like interviewing rappers about wrestling. Um, and so I'm like, yo, like I'm going to be in LA for a bit. Like, why not? Like, why not take the leap? So then I did that. Again, nothing was promised, you know, but I showed up, and then I guess like you know they liked me for one more day, and then another day, they turned into a week turned into 2 weeks. So it's like, yeah, it was a experience that I'm so grateful for, and those guys are amazing.
So you did the majority of your training at Battle Arts, though, right?
Yeah, yeah, I'd say so.
Would you say that there's any sort of noticeable differences between training in Canada versus training in the United States, or was it primarily the same type of stuff that you were running through?
I think moves are the same, but it's more so like the in betweens that are taught. Like we had a lot of great seminars and guests coming to Battle Arts because like Trent Seven's no joke. Like he was showing us in betweens of UK style, and even Dan Maloney from New Japan. So like those seminars, like they really changed your perspective of what it takes to tell a story in a fighting like world. You know, so
Mhm.
I'd say like the training is very what do you call it? There's a variety because then you have like the Mark Wheelers and Fuerzas that are usually there, but then when you have these seminars, it's like holy, like it really like changes your perspective of another type of style. So I feel like there's so much cultural wrestling lessons that happen in battle arts that it gave me the courage to even try a Nox Pro.
How long were you training until you got to have your first match, or even just like your first run in a battle royale, or just kind of get a taste of the actual experience of being in a match, right? Because that can look so many different ways for
Yeah,
people
yeah.
for their first time, right?
Yeah, I remember my first battle royal was like I was probably a month in, so we were bumping still. Like running the ropes was still like the process and all that, and like doing the universals and all those things. But I remember like taking heat or not heat. I was just taking a beating in the battle royale, and as I'm getting choked out, they're like, "You're doing good, kid. You're doing great." And I'm like, and then and then I'm like, yeah, as they're like, yeah, keep selling, and I'm like, I want to cry. What's going on? And I'm like, yeah, I'm green as like heck. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what's happening, but It was yeah, that's like a first month in, or like maybe 3 weeks in, because we had a show already happening by the time I joined. So like,
Okay.
yeah. By the time I joined, they're like, yeah, just throw them in the battle royale. So we did that whole thing, and yeah. So I'd say that was my first battle royale. My first like match with a paying crowd probably was 8 months in. So like October of I started like what, January of 2023. I'd say October 2023 was my first like paid match. And that was crazy because like when they lowered the lights, you had the whole feeling of your entrance, like to experience that whole feeling and like high fiving the people in the crowd. And I had a lot of people out there too, which is cool. And yeah, so I'd say yeah,
What do you remember about that first match? Your opponent, your feelings going into it, maybe some of the feedback after. Like,
yeah.
I'm sure there was like a well of different emotions going on at that point. But what really stands out to you about that first match?
Oh, you're bringing me back. I think I was just so hyped because like my first opponent at Ballard's was Rajan Husher, and he's really a character. And what's cool is that I feel like I'm also really a character. So when you have two people that are really committed to who they are and the extensions of who they are, it makes for like great chemistry. And even though I'm like a lot greener at that time, it was wild to see that when we got out there, like we're not holding back, which is fun. Like it's like, yeah, like he's really barking at me and all these things, and like yeah, like chirping the crowd, and like I'm not used to that banter yet because most of the people I had practice matches with, they're like like they're very how do I say this? They're not going all the way. That's the word. Yeah. But then I guess with the whole production and everything, like you have to, commit to the bit. So that was great. Yeah, no, I just remember, yeah, we had a lot of people out there. I brought a lot of people. The crowd was hot in general for the whole show, which was amazing. Um, and just even hearing the like the people say, "Take it easy" in unison, I'm like, yo, that's sick. Yeah, I love that. That's almost like, and my dad's in the crowd too, so like he knows that that's him. I'm playing my dad to be honest. So it's cool that like he could smirk at that, like, oh my gosh, you know?
So it's very clear that portrayal of a character is very important to you. Can
Yeah.
you take me through a little bit of your thought process when you get an opportunity to come up with a music or, think of in-ring gear or even come up
Yeah.
with a move set? Like, how do you go through that process? What does that look like for you?
Oh, for me, like definitely a core component of how I see myself is I think about the style, not just because I'm the stylish man in professional wrestling, but like I do like value being stylish. And so like I feel like you could tell like a whole story with how your outfit like looks. And I feel like wrestling gives you that opportunity. So I think my first year I was rocking like a helmet and like a NASCAR racer BMX type of look. But then this year I have a more like Western look with a cowboy fringe. So and this also this year 2025 I'm coming up with like a new chapter. So I'm excited to unveil that. We're gonna unveil that hopefully in the Philippines. I'm gonna be in the Philippines next month. Hopefully I wrestle there. We don't know what's happening, but like yeah. But what I was gonna say was I think about the outfit first, and then I think of what moves I could do. And again, it's not for all wrestlers. This is just me, but I think of the outfit. I think of what moves would look cool. Then I try to see myself in like SVR, like I play the game, so I make the outfit in the game, and then I try to see if does that move look aesthetically good on me, and then I try it out of practice. Legit, I'll play like the newest 2K, make the outfit, play it. I'm like, oh, that looks cool. Okay, let's try it. And then I'm like, oh, that sucked. Like that was not me. Yeah. And then or the opposite. Like, oh, I do something and I think it sucks, but then I do it in practice. I'm like, oh, no, we cooked with that. Let's keep that. That's actually back. So it's a very trial and error, like a very copy and paste sticker mentality of how I just try things and see what sticks, and then I edit. I just edit. But with the character, I think I just think of like, what would I be a fan of, you know? And for me, I'm a fan of guys that could cross over outside of wrestling, like guys that non wrestling fans could be like, "Whoa, who are you? What do you even do?" And by the time you say you're a wrestler, they're like, "Oh, on a New Year's special," you know what I mean? Like it's like I think those are like, and I think Jeff Hardy had that quality. I think. uh Eddie Guerrero, like just him smiling. Like if I didn't know Eddie, I'd be like, yo, this guy's so charismatic. What do you do? He's like, oh, don't get me started. You know what I mean? Like, I lie, cheat, and I steal. You know, so it's one of those things. So
So the persona changes.
it
Um,
evolves.
it's a
Yeah,
constantly evolving thing. But what's the impression that you want somebody who sees you perform to walk
yeah.
away with at the end of the night? Like, what do you want somebody to think of you as a performer when they've seen you perform for the first time?
I think God put me on this planet to just bring joy, no matter what. If I'm a baby face or if I'm a heel, I think I'll just put on this planet. The wrestling is just the medium, right? It's just the act, but the actual like function of I'm like I even thought about as I've been wrestling more. I'm like, why am I put on this planet to wrestle? Because it could end at any moment. But I'm thinking like, oh shoot, like I make people like smile or like they smirk or like they're like, yo, that's so bizarre. Like I really commit. Like because also like sometimes I do this wrestling things in non-wrestling spaces. Like we had a fashion show. I was running it, walking it the other day, and then an Australian named Clyde Kane assaulted me. We had to fight. I gave him a 619 on and this is at a fashion show. This is very recent. Yeah, like my life is very bizarre. So gave him a 619, continued my runway. We went to Australia. Talented guy though, but
I've
he
had the opportunity to interview Clyde, and he is a
yeah.
fantastic dude.
Yeah,
Absolutely
yeah.
fantastic.
Talented. He interrupted my runway, so wisdom,
While it's been a short career so far, it's
yeah,
clearly been very eclectic, we'll say.
yeah, eclectic.
I don't know how easy this would actually be to do, but is there any particular highlights that stand out for you that you've had? I mean, you've just told me about having a fight at a fashion show, but is there anything that really stands out as like additional highlights for you?
Oh man, there's so many because I feel like becoming a wrestler gave me so much keys to do all these things that I never got the chance to do, even as a creative. So like fighting at a fashion show, that's a dream. You know what I mean? That's amazing, and I can't believe we got the green light on that. So and we didn't pitch that. They came to us wrestlers.
Oh,
That's the win. So it's just like that's just a quiet fist pump backstage. But I'd say my entrance in Los Angeles. That was my. I think I didn't get my entrance down, and I'm still working. Like I'm still adding stuff to it. But my first time at Knox Pro doing their show, and just walking sideways, like on some Razor stuff, but more like theatrical because Razor's just pure cool. Me, I'm like cool but bizarre. It's almost like Razor Dude Love Santino Morello, like type of like Eddie Guerrero. Like if I were to make a melting pot of Take It Easy to a wrestling fan that doesn't know Take It Easy Joey, it's like Macho Man, Nacho Libre, uh, like you know what I mean, yeah, like a Pinoy Nacho Libre, but with the swag of Shawn Michaels and the theatrics of Macho Man. But so I'm doing my thing, like I'm shimmying, and I can feel the crowd going like this too. And they're on beat with my theme song, like "Take It Easy, my brother Charlie." And I could be like, "Hey, hey, hey," and the crowd doesn't know me. I expect them to have no reaction. So I'm just gonna jam out, come out like kind of like when I come out of the shower. I'm just gonna enter the ring like that. So then, yeah. So I do that, and like that in those moments, I felt that entrance. So that's a peak moment in LA. Wrestling Mark Wheeler was was big for me because again, like I used to like pay dues at like other schools, and I'd see him perform, and I'm like, yo, it'd be cool to wrestle that guy. So the fact that full circle, I get to wrestle him, and he's my coach, and it came to Battle Arts, like it's pretty dope.
yeah, he's a phenomenal talent.
Yeah. So that's like that. Like shout out to him too. Shout out to him. He showed me so much, but I'd say that. Damn. In general, WrestleMania weekend, like I went out there with Mikey Truth and Jackson Roy. Sway was out there too, which is great. Um, but just seeing the support for wrestling. So even like all the top indie wrestlers are watching the main events of GCW. And like that room is not full of fans. That room is full of people trying to do this full time. And the camaraderie, like you could feel it. Like you could like Bang and Buck, like all those like that whole New York scene, they're chilling. Like, we're all chilling in the same area, just like celebrating wrestling, like what we're grateful for. So that on a personal level is like a highlight to me. But then on a professional level, yeah, I'd say the Knox Pro entrance, wrestling Mark Wheeler. Oh, Free Palestine show, Friends with Ferza. teaming with Puff. Oh man, he is fun.
Well, that's two characters right there for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, 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 we were the boys in motion. It was like Spike Dudley, or not Spike Dudley, Scotty Too Hottie, Rikishi type of dynamics. It's fun. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was fun. And so we faced Dynasty that day. We faced KPK, uh, Steady Ballers. So it was good to like have all those larger than life characters in the Ontario scene in the same ring. And yeah, it was like it's like the cookout you don't want to be at because like everyone's just taking food first, you know what I mean? So I'd say it was like that.
So, what would you say would be kind of like the next goal for you on the bucket list? Is there a particular destination you'd like to travel to, an opponent you'd like to square off with? Like, where
Yeah.
would you like to see Take It Easy Joey go next?
I think he has to go international. So in 2 weeks, like again, baby steps, but I'm gonna be in the Philippines. We're gonna film a lot of things there. We're working on a we have done a trailer for my character arc. I can't wait to release that. And it's kind of like showing the origins of where this character came from and how it's like it's powered by something bigger than my flesh. And so I'm so excited to share that story. So we might release that in like February, 2 weeks from now. Yeah, I'd like to wrestle in the Philippines. That's the goal. I want to see what the scene is there, and then I want to do more stuff in the States, of course. That's the thing. I got to face Von Vertigo. That was a bucket list, but it happened so early. You know, it happened like as I wrote it down. I got the text, "Oh, you're facing him." I'm like, "Oh, amazing!" Like, and that's your boy, and like he's really good. And
It's the Jeff Hardy of the Ontario independent scene right
yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah. So it was crazy that it happened so quick because that was goals for next year.
All right, so don't limit yourself to independent wrestlers. Who is the dream opponent? You don't have to justify it in
Oh yeah,
reality.
yeah, yeah.
Just if you could square off with somebody, who would be the absolute dream? Let's stick to at least current performers.
Matt Cardona in terms of like the indie circuit.
Mhm.
I think we could do some like fun, like viral type of content, and I love that even before like us or like Logan, us on this level or like Logan Paul's on that level. Matt was putting in social media work early before it was even like known. So I had to give flowers to where I see it. So like to have that matchup of the new gen of people coming up in like the content space of wrestling, that would be dope. I'd love to do like a match with like somewhere where Zilla Fatu's involved. Like
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like it'd be cool to do a tag match. That'd be sick. Like me and Zilla versus somebody. I don't know who, but that'd be crazy.
I mean,
Um,
the Hardys are still kicking.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess yeah. If TNA's in the lines, like me and Zilla versus the Hardys would be insane. Yeah, maybe like again, like when I say I face them, I don't even mind tagging with them. I just feel like just being in the same ring in general, like Jordan Oliver, like that'd be great to run that up. I know he's healing right now, so hopefully, like we're wishing him the best in his recovery.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Let's step out of the ring for a bit.
yeah,
You clearly have a lot of things on the go all the time, and you dedicate, I'm sure, a vast amount of time to wrestling. But if you have to step away for a minute, even if it's just to recharge your batteries, and
yeah.
not necessarily a hustle, but like what's kind of like a pastime you go to just
Yo,
kind of
don't get me
unwind and relax?
started. So like, I'm like the most side quest type of guy
I
because
know
like
I was trying to minimize it to like.
yeah, like so I'll tell you by week. So last week I started DJing and I have to drop some loops soon. And shout out to Mikey Truth. He's been showing me some decks and how to get down with that. So that's amazing. So I'm DJing on the side. I thrift a lot. Like I love thrifting. I love collecting. I'd want to get personally what I want to get into is I want to make beverages and make mangoes, like dried fruit mangoes. I want to get into like making things that people could eat or taste. That I think that'd be so dope for the Take It Easy brand. Um, yeah, just mainly clothing stuff. Like oh, and then doing photo shoots. Like if I'm like for example, around this time last year, I got casted to be a model for Sprite and the Raptors. So stuff like that. Like I love like just doing like auditions and like doing shoots, interviewing people too about wrestling that don't know anything about wrestling. That's my favorite thing. They're like that's amazing to me. Like when I'm like downtown Toronto ask a random person, like, "Oh, who's your favorite wrestler?" I don't like when they hurt each other. Like I love like stuff like that. Like it gets me amped. Like I really love, yeah, I love the relationship between people that think it's lowbrow versus us that see the value, and it really is a reflection of our culture on all levels, not just wrestling culture, but like you know, we're all getting work somehow. I believe that. Like,
So,
yeah,
I'd be remiss to not ask you. You mentioned modeling for the Raptors. You referenced
yeah.
VC earlier. Are you a big basketball fan?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I haven't watched a lot lately because I'm so not just focused on wrestling, but I'm like being a fan of wrestling again on like with Netflix and everything. But yeah, basketball is dope. Like I watch a lot of Steph Curry. I like if I were to pick a wrestler that was Take It Easy Joey, it's Steph.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, yeah. If we're playing that game, you know, I feel like more wrestlers like need that break from wrestling before
I'm a fair bit older, so like I even remember watching WCW days when Dennis Rodman and Karl Malone were getting into the ring.
yeah. Oh
So
yeah, Jalen Brunson and those guys been waiting all their life
Tyrese
to do
Halliburton.
that. Yeah, you can tell they're not. That's not no like I'm too cool for school. That's like they waited all their life for that the gimmick. You can tell the way the hands are in the pockets. They're like standing on business. Like come on, bro. Like let's
Okay,
keep.
so I'll ask you a bit more of a random weird question. Okay, you're setting
Yeah,
up a tag team match. Okay,
yeah, yeah.
one wrestler and one NBA player on each side. Who are you facing and who are you teaming with?
So I'd team with. Dang, these are great questions because like Curry got that jump shot that so Curry's jump shot's like a spear, so like I feel like that could like hit you at any angle. But then LeBron's court vision is LeBron's like Roman, you know what I mean? So it's just like he's like the tribal chief of the league. Damn, yo, and I'd probably be like Sami Zayn in that dynamic. Like I know my role. Like I'll like let me think. Oh man. It'd be wild to see, like, in general, it'd be wild to see like someone like Trey Young, who's like the top heel in New York, team up with the most beloved heel, Jacob Fatu, because
Okay.
he's like he's so beloved as a heel. Like even though he's a bad guy, you're like, oh man, I'm rooting for that guy. Like he's like the Nipsey Hussle of like wrestling to me. I think like he's earned his stripes outside the ring, and by the time he's here, all of us are like, he's been that dude.
Yeah, but you can't put Trey Young with him. As soon as he does the shiver,
Yeah, that's
everyone
why.
in New York is just gonna hate him.
Yeah, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. The dynamic. So I'm trying to think of someone bizarre with me. Honestly, Serge Ibaka. He's like a
Oh,
bigger take it easy. Yeah, yeah. He's not like a star like LeBron or like Curry, but he's so suave. He cooks like he does all like the. He's so relaxed. He's like another dude love. So I think me and him would be like an interesting pairing. Yeah, yeah. All those rappers commercials. Like he does the accents. He'll fight for you. He's always in fights. Like yo,
yeah, but he never lands anything.
yeah,
So
that's true. Yo, yeah, never mind. He's a terrible worker. Yo, yo, yo. Scratch that. Yo, yo, yo. Yeah, I'll go with like LeBron. He's the tribal chief.
wicked. I like to ask this question for everybody before we sign out. It's a little bit more surreal. It might be a little bit harder to answer, but if you had an opportunity to go back to a younger version of yourself prior to beginning wrestling training, what piece of advice would you give yourself that
Yeah.
could possibly carry over to another young performer that's just getting into the industry now?
Oh man, well, remember why you stepped foot in it. Like, remember why you love this. Because, like any industry, there's so much like noise that could come in the way. But then with wrestling, it's such a childhood like love that we all have for like as grown men and grown women. But I think remembering that at the forefront is so important for the days that you don't want to go to practice, the days that you don't want to get new gear, the days you don't want to go to give your all at a show. Like you want to do decent, but like those feelings are very valid because of the wear and tear and how expensive it is at this level versus how much you make. That's just the reality of it. But to remember why you love it and have that freedom will propel you to grow in ways that you won't even imagine. Like I would like younger me at 9 won't even think I told myself at 9 I'm not being a wrestler. That it hurts. It looks painful like seeing Shawn Michaels get lower back issues with JBL. Like and then where am I at now? Like I'm really doing it. So it's crazy. And then if you told me at 16 that I'd have a brand, like you know what I mean? Like it's wild. Like that's like peak Shield or maybe 2014. But like you know what I mean? Like there's so much elements of wrestling that apply to life, and I think remembering that this is a privilege that we get to do this is even if you're not in ring talent, if you're like an MC, if you're an interviewer, if you're um, a commentator, if you're a manager, this we're lucky to be a part of this. So I think remembering that like this is the privilege first, the BS comes after. That separates everybody.
Amazing.
That's the perspective. That's not even advice, but perspective. I think, yeah, advice. Do it yourself, man. Like like no one's gonna tell you. Yeah, be yourself. Like you'll find it. You'll figure it out.
Amazing. So before we sign out, can you just let people know again who you are and where they can find your social media presence in case they just want to keep up to date with all the million things you got going on?
Yeah, for sure. My name is TekkitEasyyJoey. You can follow me on Instagram at TekkitEassyy, Joey. Also, we'll be dropping some dope content soon, like kind of the trailer, kind of a short film type of esque thing. So stay tuned to that. And I'm gonna go to the Philippines soon. We'll see what happens after that. But yeah, that's where you guys can find me. Might launch a YouTube channel soon. We'll see. Like everything's up in the air, but stick to Instagram first.
Follow him on Instagram and just keep up to date with what's happening.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I want to say thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure, and I appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me.
Thank you so much. No, I really appreciate you doing this for the whole community. And for me, like I get to blab about non-wrestling stuff in wrestling.
Thank you for tuning in to Independent Wrestling Profiles. Please help out the show if you can with a like, subscription, or review. We'll see you next time.